Alright, this video is on Librarian version 13, but it's also on Librarian version 12 because I never made a video for that. And I'll show you how to go from version 11 Librarian software to 12/13. So there are a lot of differences in the Librarian from 11 to 12, but only one difference between 12 and 13, one feature. And there's software differences in your D-Lev between 11 and 12, but not between 12 and 13. So if you've already updated using 12, there's no new software for your D-Lev in Librarian 13, if that's clear. Anyway, so I took Librarian 13 zip file, unzipped it to a folder on my desktop, and I opened a terminal inside that. And so that's this terminal here, and I'm going to run d-lin because I'm on a Linux machine. All right, brings up our menu that we're used to. You can see that we've got version 13 here. And we'll read the README, which is option 0. So the software changes. When you defeat the noise generator, now it routes the oscillator output through the noise, bass and treble controls, and multi-mode filter to give you more filtering options there when they're not being used by the noise source. On the volume page, if you set the damp to a non-zero value, that will move the node off to the deloc location, MIDI node off, and it won't allow MIDI node on below that threshold. And these are so that you can more easily play MIDI drones and then play along with the internal synthesizer of the D-Lev along with those drones or something like that. So you know, without disturbing the drones. This is a suggestion from Vincent, a very good one. Thank you, Vincent. On the volume page, the velocity negative value knob values have been removed, and the rectify option has also been removed. With the new velocity sensing, it really didn't seem necessary. And the MIDI page, the velocity has been scaled up 2x to make that a little bit more useful. All right, in terms of the Librarian changes, there is a new menu option to list, select, and pump EEPROM files. So if you've backed up your system to an EEPROM file, you can restore it now via the Librarian menu rather than having to drop down to the command line. There's a new menu option to display the current pitch and volume field frequencies. That's kind of a diagnostic for me, but you might find it useful too. And we can also log those to a file and to the screen in real time. And so that can it's kind of a factory test for me to see the stability of the fields and things like that and their frequencies. But you might find it useful too for your, you know, if you put it in an enclosure or something and you're encountering drift or something, you might be able to quantify it. The bank command can now generate and operate on pre and profiles. And this is more of a convenience for me when I'm generating them for new Librarians releases. The morph command can now use pre and EEPROM files as source, and it's also now per knob, which makes it more focused but and versatile, but a little bit harder to set up. And there's fuzzy matching now for the page lookup and command tinting. So if you have a typo or you don't quite know what you're doing or whatever, like I don't often, it'll hopefully make a suggestion, get you in the right direction. All right, there are no preset or profile updates needed with this release from 11 to 12/13. And I wanted you to note that in general, preset profile updating is algorithmic. So even if you moved your presets around or profiles around in the slots, it doesn't pay any attention to, you know, what should be in that slot from the factory. It just goes and applies an algorithm to it to do the update. So you shouldn't feel weird about, you know, applying these updates if you've moved your presets or profiles around, because it won't disturb that. All right, in general, okay, to update the software and get the new presets, you do steps 1, 2, 3, and 5. To update the software and overwrite all of the presets, you do 1, 2, 3, and 6. To do kind of a factory refresh, to bring it up to date, you do 1, 2, 8. But that blows away your profiles. And if you want to do a restore of an EEPROM file that you've created before, you can do 1, 2, and 9. So, and I'll show you that. So you don't have to drop down to the command line to do a restore of an EEPROM file that you've created. Okay, go back to the menu. So we'll do a serial port check, which is step 1. And you can see here that port 1 is the active port. Do you want to change it? No, not really, but I'll change it for you just so you can see me do it. And we'll change it to 0. Do you want to test it? I don't want to test it because it's wrong. But so we'll set it back. So you can see it's set to 0. Yeah, we want to change it. We'll set it to 1. Do you want to test it? Yes. And it says the port's okay. All right, so we're cool. And then we'll do step 2, which is to back up our system to an EEPROM file. Yes. This is always a safe thing to do. All right. Now, we'll do the software update. Step 3. Okay, it says our software currently is associated with Librarian 11. It's old. Presets and profiles should be okay, like I was saying. Do you want to update? Yes. So this, excuse me. This takes a little while. I don't know why it's faster on a Mac. It's just like lickety-split. All right, let me mute it. So it says our software is updated, associated with Librarian 13. Software is current. Passes a CRC, that's cool. All right, now we do step 5 to upload the latest presets. So here's the latest presets here. Do you want to examine? Yes, we want to examine our current slots. Okay, so here's all our presets in our slots, and you can see at 199 here, it's blank, and 200 on, so that seems like a good place to put them. Do you want to upload the latest new presets? Yes. Where do you want to start? 199. So here it is pumping the slots. Do you want to examine them? Yes. Okay, so you can see that Tibet 10 now is in 199 and on through 210. So that's cool. All right. So, let's see. I want to show you option 8 because that's new. So, if we had a backup file, it lists them, lists any EEPROM files in the current directory. And you can see this is the one we just created here. It's number 3. It says, do you want to upload one of these? And I'm going to say no because I don't want to, but you know, you could restore your system this way from the backup file we made in step 2. So, nope, no, okay. Okay, this new HZ command shows us the pitch field and the volume field frequencies. So they should be roughly 1.4. The ratio here should be roughly 1.4 square root of 2. If these are too close together, if they're too close to the same thing, then your fields could be interrupting or interfering with each other. So the new one is log, the other new one. So what this does is, do we want to log the pitch and volume frequencies to this file, dlog.txt? And we'll say yes. So there's a delay here, and that's normally you'd run away from your D-Lev while it's, and then it takes the initial reading. So I'm sitting kind of near it, so I'm disturbing it. But so you can see it's just kind of going and doing stuff. All right, I'm gonna stop it. It'll just keep going forever. I'm gonna hit Control and then C to stop it, and that blows me out of the librarian too, but that's okay because we're kind of done. So you can see it tells you what the file is, the date, the time. We're using a 2-second interval. You can set this to whatever you like. That's the time interval down here. This is averaging. So what it's doing is filtering the frequency, and this ppm, this group over here, it's getting averaged a little bit. So you can set this higher and you get end up with more averaging, but it slows it down too, slows the response down. But it might smooth it out if you want to if you want to graph the ppms. You might want to smooth them out a little bit. So then we have some statistics over here on the right. And so we have a running average for the volume and pitch ppms. And then we have a running standard deviation for the volume and pitch ppms. And then we have an absolute difference between the maximum value seen and the minimum value seen. So this can kind of show you kind of long-term volatility, I guess. Also up here, they're showing us the pitch and volume, pitch divided by the volume frequency. So you can see that that's close to 1.4, which is close to the square root of 2. And the pitch divided by volume LC is the inverse square of that. And so this should be close to 1/2, and it is. So that's the numbers that we're kind of looking for here. So if these end up too close to 1, then your fields could be interfering. And that could, it depends on the antennas that you've got connected and things like that, and the environment and all that other stuff. So, but that's something to look out for kind of health. So I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching.